All right, Dan here. Let's check out Tesla today. Elon Musk took all the humans out of the robo taxis in Austin, and they're still driving around, and nobody's died yet. So market's up, or I should say, the market for Tesla is up, and I want to dig into it just a little bit more. I'll cut to the chase. This is a time that you should buy this. I won't say should. You make your own damn decisions, but it's a time that you can buy Tesla, and I'm going to explain why. First of all, on the weekly chart. The weekly chart, this is one like volatile stock. And so you really have to decide whether you're a trader or you're an investor. And if you're an investor, my gosh, it's been a real wild ride here. But the stock's printing or close to printing a new high, but it's on a breakout too. So we'll look at that in just a sec. But if you just look at the weekly chart, you can see this climb over like last week was on lower than average volume. I'm going to change this. No, it's fine. This said, no, I'm not. I am going to change this just to from the last 10 weeks. We'll say, let's make it the last 30 weeks so we get like a better idea of where volume is. So, and I'm going to go ahead and save this chart. We like to do that. So the stock's been trading on less than average volume for a while, which is actually a good thing because you can see back here with this increasing volume on this big downtrend. This is now looking like it was kind of a shakeout. Also, you can really look at this as kind of a cup and handle pattern, depending on how you want to look at this. I'm just going to consider this whole thing one big base here. And so the stock's coming up here. This is the high. So it's formed this little low. It's formed this little, excuse me, we'll do this little low handle here. I'll get rid of this. Okay, so this is the pattern right here. Hey there, I cleaned it up a little bit. You didn't need to watch me do bad artwork. So this is the cup. It's just kind of a sloppy little thing, but you can see what I'm looking at. And by the way, it doesn't like different patterns. They don't have to be this picture perfect pattern where, oh, that's not really a cup because it's kind of zigzaggy here. No, we're talking about these patterns that just really represent the psychology of the crowd and what they're doing. It's like behavioral analysis, behavioral trading analysis, that type thing. And so we have this same dynamic here of this cup and then a test of this resistance level, and it failed. And so then we get a move lower on lower than average volume. And then this is a higher low. So it's kind of like you get a low here and then a higher low along here and then a higher low still. All the while we get a high, a higher high, and now a higher high. So this is now in a bullish pattern. And so I like the way this is trading. And by the way, this is a weekly chart. Now, if we look at the daily chart, so my conclusion would be here on the weekly chart. That's my decision time frame. I decide I want to buy Tesla. Now I will go to the daily time frame. I get a more of a granular view, of course, but you can see this big sell-off. But doesn't this really look like it's kind of a thing of the past? Like nobody cares about this anymore because it's done nothing but kind of run straight up here. So we can take this completely off of the analysis. See what I'm doing here? If the price is not relevant, like I don't care what it did back here. Okay, so that's off. Okay, this is a nice climb here. What have you done for me lately? So this is off. Okay, now this is a big fall here. Okay, really, really nasty. All right, who bought up here in January, or actually like last December? Who bought up here, rode this all the way down, held all through here, and now that this is getting close to their buy point, saying, whoo, that was a heck of a ride. I want my money back. Okay, nobody did that. Not one single person. If you were going to sell, you're going to sell sometime here, probably right there. This was the end for the most patient bulls, big, massive sell off. So from here on out, this is nothing but aggressive buying. And if we do like an anchored VWAP from, shoot, man, we'll do it from here. Okay, the volume weighted average price after this is clear down here. And what does this mean? It means that everybody's a winner. Anybody who bought since here is a winner. And so this is a stock that's ready to go higher. It actually is going higher. It's breaking above this pivot point right here from this last high. Not at an all-time high, but it might as well be at an all-time high because, again, none of this stuff is relevant. Nobody cares. Now, you'll hear about this on CNBC. Everybody will be lathered up on it and all that. Oh, it's at a brand new high. In my mind, it's at an all-time high right now. So robo-taxis are now completely robo. Supervisors are no-mo. And so this is trading on a little bit heavier than average volume, just a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit above 14% higher than average volume. So I think you can buy this stock here and then maybe put your stop a little bit below the 50-day moving average just in case the stock pulls back. You don't need to keep it this low. Maybe you definitely want to keep it below the 8-day EMA, exponential moving average. That's the green line. So you can even be buying it here. It's volatile, so it's really pretty problematic to say, well, I'll just put it a little bit below today's breakout. So if it starts to fill the gap, I won't get caught in a loss. I think you're better off to use a little bit of a looser stop and start with a smaller position to manage your risk that way. But then again, that's just me. And I am, for members, I am going to put this on the active trade list with a stop just a little bit below 550. Okay, so that's all I got for you. If you are not a member of Stock Market Mentor, please check it out. I will have you know that come the first of the year, I am having a New Year's resolution special, and you're going to be surprised about what it is because it truly is something for you to be focusing on and using and taking advantage of for all of 2026. And my goal is that 1 year from now, you look back on the prior year and go like, oh my good Lord, I can't believe the transition that I made. This is awesome. So that's what I'm going for. That's what you're going to get. Members first. So if you are wanting to be a member, guess what? You get a 14-day free trial. Well, $7 is free. That's all I got for you. I'll see you next time.